Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Stewartry Area Committee for the 17th of March 2021. In opening this meeting, and I'm sure I speak for all members of this committee and across the whole council, in expressing my sadness at the passing of our friend and colleague Patsy Gilroy, who will be very sadly missed. Patsy served the people of this area tirelessly for almost 20 years as a councillor before being appointed as Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant for the Stewartry in November 2018. As you know, meetings now are very different due to public health regulations and COVID-19, and we're only using Microsoft Teams to participate in this meeting. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be made available on the council website for public listening. Could I remind members to follow the good practice guidelines, which includes muting your microphones and switching off the video when not speaking. Should you wish to contribute to any item, please write speak in the Teams chat function, and you'll be invited to speak in order about the new issues. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we deal with the business as efficiently as possible. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting for any reason, can I remind you to enter leave in the Teams meeting for that period of times, or could you write leave in the Teams chat function and then join if you come back? This will allow us to monitor elected members' presence. Thank you for that long introduction. Could I ask the clerk, Tracy, to provide the serenant and any apologies, please? Tracy?
Morning, Chair. Morning, members. We've currently got 8 members present, and I have one apology from Councillor Diggy Campbell.
Thank you, Tracy. I confirm my agreement to the remote participation. Secondly, declarations of interest. Do any members have any declarations of interest? And as you know, it's entirely a matter for individual members to determine if they have to declare an interest, and if so, whether or not they need to leave the meeting during the relevant item. Any declarations of interest, please?
Chair, can I come in?
Certainly.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just to say I'm a member of the Stewartry Sports Council, so when that comes up in the meeting, I will not take part, but I will remain in the meeting. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Drysdale. And I too am a member of the Stewartry Sports Council and will likewise remain in the meeting but not participate in the discussion.
Well, I'm Chair of Stewartry Sports Council, John. I might wait and see what's getting discussed, and I might want to make a
Thank you. At this point, thank you, Davy, for that. At this point, Tracy, can I ask you to monitor chat, because my computer seems to have fallen off and I'm just operating on my iPhone. So I'd be grateful for any assistance.
Yes, thanks, Chair. You've got Councillor Ian Howie wanting to come in.
Right. Councillor Howie?
Chair, it's just declaration of interest, item Stewartry Council Voluntary Service. I used to be an employee of them, obviously, so I know the staff, so I won't participate in that item.
Thank you, Councillor Howie. Members of the meeting, members of the minute of the previous meeting of the 18th of November for noting. Is that okay? And now we come to the discretionary budget, to item 4, the discretionary budget performance monitoring. Performance for 2021. This report provides members with monitoring returns detailing how the Stewartry Area Committee discretionary budget has been spent in the last financial year 2021 and what it has achieved. I'm obviously very pleased to see that at a difficult time for our communities, the discretionary budget has been put to such good use to bring positive cheer to people during these very difficult and trying times. It's also heartening to see that communities unable to physically gather to celebrate galas and festivities have done their level best in such difficult times, supporting their neighbourhoods in some very creative ways and supporting our vulnerable members of the community. Kimberly Phillips, our ward officer, is here via Teams to answer any members' questions and hear any members' comments. So, have we any members' comments or questions on item 4, the discretionary budget performance monitoring for last year? Well, with no...
We've got Vice Chair coming in, Chair.
Right, thank you, Davy.
Just to let other members know, we had a Stewartry Sports Council meeting about a month ago. We decided on the basis that we hadn't drew any money for the last year, that's what we're putting the money back in. We don't know what the financial situation is at present because I can't get in touch with my treasurer, but I have got applications coming in already for the forthcoming year, so we'll have to see what the finance is like, and if there was maybe money left then in next year and next if we needed some financial support, I'd like to think we might get it, Chair.
I would hope you would, Davy, but that's for the committee to discuss, but we look forward to that discussion. Any further comments or questions? In that case, we'll move very quickly to the recommendations. Members are asked to note the performance monitoring information from the projects and initiatives that receive support from the Stewartry Area Committee discretionary budget. And 4.2, members are asked that citizens have benefited to note that citizens have benefited from the delivery of 23 key local projects and initiative, and over £46,000 has been invested in projects in this local Stewartry area. Moving on, item 5 relates to phase 2 of the anti-poverty funding allocated to this committee. Members will recall that the total allocation to this committee for 2021 was £26,020, of which £6,400 was agreed by this committee at its November 2020 meeting. This left a balance of £19,620 for a second round of applications for this financial year. An officer scoring panel has considered the applications and made recommendations to this, and this is detailed in Appendix 2. The panel considered best fit with local criteria, and particularly, firstly, the outcomes which would be achieved, and secondly, the difference which the project would make to the individuals and families which it would support. I'm pleased to see that any any applicants who may not receive funding will have continued support from their ward officer and third sector in Dumfries and Galloway. And we're pleased to welcome Wendy Jessup, the anti-poverty officer, here with us via Teams to answer any members' questions. So, members, do we have any comments or questions on the Stewartry Area Committee anti-poverty grant funding?
Councillor Howie, Chair.
Councillor Howie?
Thank you, Chair. It's regarding to Castle Douglas IT project. Obviously, there's great scope to refurbish laptops and the likes, but I'm just wondering if consideration was being given to refurbishing the likes of some of the mobile phones, which are virtually computers themselves these days. I know that I do a lot of my stuff in the likes on my phone, and it might be an opportunity because I know how many of these things tend to lie about houses and the likes, and it's a shame that they're not being recycled and put to good use. And I was just wondering if this is a consideration which can be looked at.
Thank you, Councillor Howie. Wendy, have you anything to add regarding this?
Great, thank you, Chair, and hello, Chair, and hello, members. Good to see you all again. Thank you very much, Councillor Howie. That's a really good question. The Castle Douglas IT Centre would be able to include mobile phones in this project, because obviously it would be something that they would be keen to do. I think the main priority to begin with was to focus on the laptops and iPads, those types of devices. but certainly iPhones would be something that they would welcome as well. It might just be slightly down the line, but I'm sure in a couple of months' time they would be able to take that on board too. It's something that was discussed by the scoring panel members, and we were able to get that additional information, but I think I didn't include it in the report. Apologies, Councillor Howie, but certainly they would be happy to do that in the future.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howie. Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
Councillor Drysdale, Chair.
Pauline, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Hi, Wendy. It's nice to see you as well. Just could you give me some background as to the groups that were refused funding? Because I know that there are plenty of opportunities for them to apply for funding elsewhere. Could you just give me some idea on that? Because it's a question I do get asked. So is that through third sector, for example, Wendy? If you could just guide us and then we know where to send people. Thanks very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, certainly. Thank you, Councillor Drysdale. The main process that we would deliver would be anyone that's unsuccessful in being awarded funding. We would then contact third sector, Dumfries and Galloway, and ask them to get in touch with the organisation. We would give them an overview of what they're looking for, the particular outcomes of the project, the amounts they need, and where they're going to be delivering the project specifically. And we would ask the officers that covered that particular area within the region to then contact the group, go through a process of sourcing additional funders, which they can do through their funder finder options, and then assist with any completion of any application forms as well. So there is quite a bit of support there. In addition to that, sometimes when we refer them on to third sector D&G, because we got a lot of information through, I'll maybe give them a few pointers as well, which might mirror the information from third sector D&G in relation to other potential funders, and we find that generally helps. And if I can help in relation to the completion of the application forms, I'm happy to do that as well for the groups who don't receive the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Wendy.
You've got Councillor Maitland, Chair.
Jane, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Can you hear me all right? Sometimes I seem to have...
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Wendy, the couple in here for laptops for children, I'm just curious to know what level of coordination made with the scoring panel with respect to the result.
Jane, I sort of said you were loud and clear. Jane, sorry for interrupting. Start again. Your volume's gone away. Sorry.
It is maddening. I'm just going to turn off incoming video, see if that might help. What it was, it's about the coordination with respect to the laptops in the first two applications, Wendy. We're putting a lot of resource through the education side of it, and I'm just not sure whether or not we are duplicating effort here. How much do you know about what is going on as far as giving laptops to households that are in need through the education side of things, as well as this?
Okay. Great, thank you, Councillor Maitland. I'm happy to give additional background information on that, because myself and Mark Malloy, the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Service Manager, held a digital connectivity meeting a few weeks ago with a wide range of council services, just to look at that exact issue, to ensure that all of the digital connectivity products and support which is being delivered throughout the region. So that would include education services, the lifelong learning team, social work services, what we do ourselves within the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities team, and also the external providers such as the Castle Douglas IT Centre, the Better Lives Partnership and other bodies. We wanted to get together just to make sure that what we were doing was as joined up and connected as possible. And that was in relation to ensuring that we're getting the widest reach, but also to avoid any potential duplication, so that every family that was in need would get the digital equipment and possibly the Wi-Fi support, and nobody was missed out, and that it didn't end up being that some families might end up with 4 or 5 devices, whereas other families might end up with none. We've delivered a couple of papers to our Dumfries and Galloway Council corporate management team just on that subject. And there's a digital connectivity board which we're feeding the information into, and that's going to be done on an ongoing basis. I know in relation to the Castle Douglas IT Centre, they've been very good at working with the council services we mentioned, the education team, the social work team and others, to ensure that the families they're supporting are noted, so that we've got a good sound basis for knowing who in the region is being supported at all times. Obviously, it's a bit of a moving feast, because as more families become aware that they need this equipment, they will get in touch. But through education, social work and all of the third sector partners, we are getting a really good level of coverage, but we are ensuring that there is no duplication and that families in most need are receiving the equipment they need. We'll continue to do that on an ongoing basis as well, because I think digital connectivity is one of the main things that we really need to focus on in the coming couple of years within the region. So we'll ensure that we have that at the heart of all of the decision making in relation to the funding and further opportunities as they arise as well.
Thank you, Wendy. Does that answer your query, Jane?
Chairman, I think it does. Yes, thank you very much. It's actually very reassuring. Thank you.
It is a very comprehensive answer, Wendy. Thank you. If there's no more comments or questions, can I move to the recommendations? Members are asked to note the total funding available for distribution as agreed by the Council. 2.2, note the Stewartry Area Committee Anti-Poverty Grant funding priorities, criteria and eligibility as shown in Appendix 1. 2.3, note the scoring panel scoring sheets as detailed in Appendix 4. 2.4, note the Stewartry Areas Committee scoring panel's processes and recommendations as set out in Appendix 2 and Appendix 3. And finally, 2.5, agree the award of grants as appropriate. Now, that's been a very quick and efficient Stewartry Area Committee meeting. I have no other urgent business. But before the meeting concludes, could I point out that the team's invite to this meeting went out with a joining time of 10:30, but the paper showed the Stewartry Committee starting at 10 a.m. and that caused a wee bit of confusion and problems for the Stewartry Educational Trust this morning. It was other people aware of the time differentials on the paper copies, on the agenda, and on the team's invite.
I just assumed it was 10 a.m. John, I didn't really notice at 10:30. Could I congratulate you that I think for the first time ever, you've managed a Stewartry Area Committee meeting quicker than we actually managed the Stewartry Educational Trust. that took 30 minutes. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ian. And thank you everybody for attending, and that concludes this meeting. The next meeting will be held on the 19th of May 2021, and I hope we're able to meet under different circumstances in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, John.